Welcome. I'm Liz Taylor, ocean explorer, naturalist, and entrepreneur.
And I'm Sylvia Earle, founder of Mission Blue, National Geographic explorer, ocean elder. Thank you, ocean elders, for back this. Yeah, here we are.
Here we are. This is our show, Dive In, where we host informal and open conversations with the ocean community on topics of wonder and interest. We're glad to be back and hope everyone's made some time to get outdoors. Today, we are joining everyone from Altasea at the Port of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
A great new blue economy space that we've been working with for some years now. They're kind enough to host us today. So you can ask questions as we get through the conversation and put them in the Q&A box, and we'll get through as many as we can. I want to remind everyone that
the world is
blue. Oh, you didn't get that slide in.
Blue it is.
All right, you play with that.
No.
It's fall in this hemisphere, which means it's Sharktober time. And today we're really excited to have Luis Lombardo joining us to talk about his work in saving sharks. Welcome, Luis.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me here. Hi, Dr. Earle. Hello, Liz. It's a real pleasure for me to be here. Thanks so much for letting me talk about what we're doing in the Mexican Caribbean.
Love it. Actually, the opportunity to look over your shoulder and see what you've been doing, take care of those toothy creatures. I think we just need to face up to the reality of the 21st century. It's time to stop killing sharks, rays, and all of their buddies. We need them. The sharks are so important to the health of the ocean, health of the planet. The ocean needs them far more than any other purpose I can think of for their existence. The ocean needs them. We need the ocean. So straightforward. I don't know why anyone would even think of killing a shark or a ray or their various in-between buddies like the chimeras in the deep sea.
True enough. So Luis, how did you get interested in protecting sharks?
It was a need that I saw. I mean, here in Mexico, sharks are only regarded as a fishing resource. And living here in Cancun, in the Mayan Riviera, we have such an amazing touristic potential. And I saw, well, what we and my team, we saw the opportunity of saving sharks through tourism. 12 years ago, we started working in a diving operation, a shark diving operation in Playa del Carmen with bull sharks. It was a small population made out of only pregnant females. And well, we started a touristic industry around that. And we faced a lot of issues that we weren't thinking at the first place. For starters, fishermen. As I said, sharks are regarded as a fishing resource here in Mexico, and they are the owners of the resource with their permits. So even though we were thinking, sorry,
the fishermen make the rules.
No, the government makes the rules, but they give them the license. And once they have the license, they own the resource. It's only regarded as an extracted resource. We were in Mexico, there was no legislation thinking about sharks with tourism, just whale shark, and it's already a protected species, but in our case, it was bull sharks. So when we tried to promote or to do something about it, people were telling us, you're crazy. How do you dare go in with bull sharks? A shark is better dead than alive and stuff like that. So we had to face a lot of challenges with the diving community, with the authorities, with the fishing authorities, and most of all with the fishermen, because we understood that they were not the enemy. You know, they are the owners of the resource, and they've been doing this for a long, long time. I mean, here in this place in Quintana Roo, now we see a lot of things in Cancun, this whole huge infrastructure, hotels, streets, everything. But 60 years ago, there was absolutely nothing. There was no even electric power. So those guys were here in the area making a living. And this was the only way they could make a living. You know, if you don't have any fridge, shark meat, it's perfect to be salted. So it represented an important source of protein for the region. So what we faced here is changing the whole way of thinking about sharks as they're not food, they're a much better resource as being kept alive, you know?
Yeah, and to your point, it's easy to say, people should stop killing the sharks, but in some of those communities, they've done nothing but fishing for, generations, and it's hard for them to see that there is a better path.
Yes, I mean, when people think about shark fishing and the numbers that we show, they're thinking about industrial fishing, those huge boats that are carrying 11,000 sharks in one trip. But what we have here is artisanal fishers. They're doing it all by hand, by their small boats and stuff like that. So it's a really hard job. Sharks are not that close to the shore because of the traffic, because of all the movement that we have here. So they have to go further and further anytime. So when we presented them the option of doing tourism with the sharks, getting a much better income with this kind of things, having a much safer way of life, they totally agree with that. And well, what we did in Playa del Carmen was we created a management model for this kind of activity. And of course, it's based in the community, and not just the diving community, but the fishing community as well. Everyone in the community that's related somehow to the sharks, we included them in this management plan. We worked in Playa del Carmen for over 12 years. This started working pretty well. It was an amazing job, and eventually it was turned into a marine protected area, which was a huge goal for us. Now the sharks are protected. This activity is regulated by the authority, not just us telling people, hey, please be nice. There's an actual authority taking care of it. And well, that being done, we said, well, we need to replicate this thing. This model is working. The sharks are safe now. And we started thinking, like, what's our main challenge? Well, the main challenge is that the fishermen are the owners of the resource. So that's when we turned to the masters of the sea. As I mentioned, here in Quintana Roo, the fishing industry is not as big as in some other parts of Mexico. For instance, in the northern part of Mexico, where you have the huge fishing vessels. This is artisanal fishery, but it's not that much of the number, but where it's taking place. Quintana Roo, it's one of the places where we have the biggest coastal lagoons in the whole Caribbean. And sharks, as you might know, they come to the coastal lagoons to have their babies. They have their nurseries in the mangroves and stuff. And we have most of the biggest lagoons in the Caribbean. So protecting the sharks meant much more than it was than just the number of sharks being saved. One shark saved in Playa del Carmen meant 15 sharks saved because they're pregnant. And what we've seen working with the fishermen here is that most of the sharks are pregnant, and we need to protect this area. And they know that. So they're not dumb. They realize, like, if we're killing the pregnant moms, we're not going to have any babies anymore. So that's when they realized that this was a much better option to go towards tourism. And we started working with fishermen in Playa del Carmen, when we faced the first fishing community there. And they explained this to us, like, you come here now that everything is cool and we have everything, but we've been doing this for 3 generations. So it's not fair that you just take out our way of living. We totally understood that, and everyone can understand that. We all take food to our table, right? So with all the diving industry, we created the first community fund to compensate the fishermen, where every diver had to pay sort of tax, a $5 tax for diving for sharks with the sharks. With that, we created the community fund, and that way we could compensate the fishermen. And starting from that, that's where we created the new project, the Isla Mujeres Shark Initiative, where shark fishermen are the most important part of the equation. And well, why las gordas? Las gordas, it's the name we give to the sharks. That's translated to the fat ladies. Why are they important, right? That's what I just mentioned. They're pregnant. Saving one of these sharks means saving 15 sharks. And with the model that we created there with the protection polygon and fishing community, we've been able to save we calculate over 2,500 sharks in the last years, at least bull sharks that we're counting.
They're such important animals for, you know, the entire ecosystem. They bring such balance to the environment, and they're such beautiful fish. I mean, when people see them this way, instead of it, like, you know, thinking about the bull shark in the murky water and coming up and biting the swimmer, and, you know, and all the way that they've been villainized, and they see them in this fashion, you know, they really do understand how beautiful they are.
Yes, and one of the most important things that we did here was training the diving guides for them to become ambassadors of the project. You know, it's not just an extreme adventure dive. This is an environmental education experience. So we taught them about the problems that sharks are facing, the problems that this particular population of sharks is facing, the importance of this population, the importance of Quintana Roo as a nursery area, and all that. So it became from going to the sharks and being that an extreme experience, like, yes, we're going to get really close to the sharks and they might bite and stuff like that, to a really serious dive with people telling the importance of taking care of these animals. So it was a great way to portray the importance of sharks. And it still is. Every year, more than 10,000 divers come to the area, and we've been able to show them what we know about this animals. About the migratory route, that's super, super interesting, because this made us realize that we have to take care of not just our sharks, but they're not Mexican or American or Cuban sharks. These are sharks, and they don't know about borders, right? With the sharks, with the bull sharks, we started a research project. We tagged them with acoustic tags, which is an amazing technology because it's a universal technology. There's only one company, so everyone in the world is using it. So one of my sharks can be detected by another researcher, either in Cuba or in Belize or anywhere in the world. And what we found out with the sharks is that they're trinational. They spend some time in Cuba. They spend most of the year in the US, and then they come down here to give birth. So the efforts that we have to make to protect the sharks, it's not just in Playa del Carmen, it's not just in the Mexican Caribbean. We should be taking care of the sharks everywhere in the hemisphere, you know?
Absolutely. You know, I think it's so important to, you know, think about the way that these fish migrate, the same way that birds migrate on the land, and to be, you know, thinking about the migration routes and how we can support the animals throughout that, throughout their travels.
And so the question, Luis, given that these creatures range widely, this idea that anybody owns a wild animal, that especially the migratory species, seems a little odd.
Yes.
When you say, well, people have been in this area taking them for 3 generations, maybe more. The shark generations go back not just decades or centuries or even millennia.
Yeah.
They've been in the ocean one way or another. Sharks go back millions of years, and we presume that we own them, that we can say anybody really has a right above anybody else to claim them. I mean, if you ask the sharks, I think their view would be rather different.
Yes, yes, of course. That's just how law works. And I totally agree with you, Dr. Earl. You know that no one should own anything that's alive. It's the way the law works, and that's what we have to work around. Actually, one of the other things that we're doing is we're lobbying with the government for them to regard sharks as something else, not just food. The importance of the sharks in the ecosystem. We're trying to point that out with the authorities for them to understand that they're a key species, just like mangrove, that help us keep the structure of the land. Sharks help us keep the structure of the reef and the ocean. And if we don't have any reef around here, there's absolutely nothing, because people come here because of the beauty of the place, our magnificent blue waters, the clarity of it. And that's because of the coral reef. And that's alive because of the balance. So we're trying to convince the lawmakers to protect sharks as a keystone species in the ecosystem. And with that being a keystone species in the whole economy of the Caribbean, of the Mexican Caribbean. But
Yeah,
I
and
totally agree with you.
having identified the migration routes and of course these nursery areas, is very compelling, because then you really can build that case for protection and for bringing about change at a policy level that you really can't otherwise do. And to your point, protecting these mangrove areas really does help protect the land, particularly during more intense storm episodes and things like that. So it makes all the sense in the world to protect those habitats, to protect the shark pups as they're growing.
Yes, yes, of course. And as I said, the ecosystem where the sharks live, and especially sharks, is keystone species. Right now, we have a real crisis around here. The coral bleaching is really, really bad. And if we can help in any way, is helping bring balance back to the area. And I think that with what we're doing, stopping fishing, and, well, we're not reintroducing these animals, but we're stopping the extraction of them. I think that this is a way that we can help, and this is something that must be done right now, when we have this huge crisis.
But the reality is that as circumstances change, and as we learn and discover things that we did not know before, we have to change the laws to keep up with the reality.
Yeah.
I mean, we're legally undermining the prosperity, not just of creatures of the sea. Already, globally, and throughout the Caribbean, at an even greater extent than in most parts of the planet, reduced sharks by 90%. We're dealing with a pale shadow of what would be considered normal for a healthy ocean, for healthy coral reefs. So it makes sense to change the laws to keep up with the reality for the protection of the people by protecting the ocean. And
Yeah,
what we're doing here with the kids, I
Yeah.
love enlisting their support.
yeah, that's something that we've been doing for a long time now, environmental education. Because the first thing that I noticed when I started doing this is that when you say the word shark, people think of a human killing machine. Like, why do we want to save sharks? They're terrible, media, the movies, everything portrays sharks as just killing machines. So this is an ongoing project that we have, the environmental education program, and it goes from kids all the way to politicians and decision makers, because it's amazing the lack of knowledge that people have about sharks. I mean, we're biologists, and we have all this information, but for most of the people, it's just sharks are as real as dinosaurs. So
Yeah.
no one ever gets to see one.
And you think
So
about it, if you ask a shark, humans are killing machines. I mean,
oh yes, definitely.
how many of them we have really wiped out with a new technology that didn't exist until fairly recent times, from the middle of the 20th century to the present time. I mean, think of the hundreds of millions of sharks that have been killed by us, and at the same time, how few of us have been taken by sharks. It's just no comparison. We are
Yeah,
the dangerous predator.
Well, the
totally.
thing I love seeing, these kids getting involved is that in so many island nations and coastal nations, the kids grow up, they don't really want to continue to be fishermen. They just leave the area. They depart the area. They're going off to the big city or somewhere else, and they're not really staying in the community. And I think that this whole initiative of really seeing the sharks in a more positive light creating economic opportunity and jobs and training. You're training that next generation of dive leaders and scientists, biologists, policymakers that are going to really stay
sustainable jobs
where their
based on
families
a
are.
sustainable ocean.
So they're not having to leave,
Yes, of course. That's why we're using tourism. We have so much infrastructure around here, so many opportunities for them to have a great way of life by doing this, that we must do it. That's in Mexico we say, si del cielo te caen limones, ponte a hacer limonada. If lemons start falling from the sky, start doing lemonade. So tourism might be not that good for some things, but if it's already here, we have to see the advantage of that. And bringing so many people has brought us the opportunity to educate them and to make them join our cause with this.
If I have my way, then we're going to get some submersibles down there and some camera systems and really celebrate the sharks at like a whole nother level.
Yes, we're working in that way. We're going to get there. We're going to get there, definitely. This slide is about how it happened, making the activity legal, because of course it was not illegal, but it was in a gray area until it became a natural protected area. And that was a funny story. It was in December 2016 where they declared the creation of this new marine protected area. It was here in Cancun during COP13. And I was eager to tell them that shark diving was a good thing for conservation and stuff. But everyone's like, yeah, it gotta be it, but I don't believe you. So I basically had to kidnap everyone from that COP and take them shark diving. So these people are the actual representatives of the Mexican authorities. And I just took them in a van and was like, come with me.
That's great.
Where are we going? Like, just come with me. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. Just like dive in.
Yeah. When we got to the dive shop, and we were like, okay, we're gonna dive with sharks. And they're like, no, yes, you are. Come on. They did it. They were scared at the beginning, of course, like everyone else. But the moment they came out of the water, they took off their masks. They were like, this is the most amazing experience I've ever had in my life. And you have my full support. And that's how we got this activity legal. And again, it was not legal. It was just in a gray area, but it got regulated by the authorities, which is right now, which was a great achievement for us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's cool to care. And it's cool to protect sharks. I mean, they just do this flip of attitude instead of this killing them.
Every time it was the same, whenever we went diving and people were scared, the moment we got out of the water, they were willing to help. I took the fishermen, the first time I took the fishermen shark diving, the moment we broke the water, one of them looked at me and said, you know what, I'm going to take your job. It was like, please take it. This is like the best compliment I've ever received in my life. This is the Masters of the Sea. These are the Masters of the Sea. They were part of the fishing co-op called Patria y Progreso. They were responsible for 70% of the shark catch here in Quintana Roo, which adds more or less like 300 tons a year. Again, it's not that much compared to what you have in other areas, but
it makes a huge difference.
Every shark counts. Everyone.
So what we've been doing for the last year, we are giving them the chance to move from extractive activities to touristic activities. And for that, we understand that it's a challenge because they live day by day with their daily wage, with what they make out of the fisherman activity. So we started giving them an economic compensation for them to stop this activity. And the only condition for them to receive that, or other than stop fishing, was that they should be training in touristic activities for them to start their own business. And we had a great response from these guys. They changed the co-op. They're no longer in Patria y Progreso, which is a fishing co-op. They created their own touristic co-op, which is called Capshock. It's in Mayan, it means shark world. And they're super happy to help and to participate in this project. We've been working with them for the last 7 years, but now this last year that we've been really, really working together and really getting to know them, it's just amazing how much love these people have for the ocean. I mean, we might love it, but these people live out of it. They live on top of it. They love it. You know, the amount of knowledge that they have about this area, about the migrations, about the animals you can find here. As a scientist, I was just amazed, and everyone that comes here and has to talk with them to learn a little bit of what these guys who represent 4 generations of knowledge have to
Yeah.
offer. That's when we decided that, yes, with the help of Dr. Earl, we changed the name. They were no longer the fishermen. They are the masters of the sea.
That's
They're
great.
people to really look
Absolutely.
up to.
But
And sorry, yeah.
it's so true that they do have such a
Knowledge.
deep and rich knowledge of the sea.
They're there all the time.
They're there all the time. They can read the weather. They can, they sense things that it's almost like, walked in the past.
It's amazing. It's out of this world. I mean, sometimes we go tagging sharks, and they're like, here. They're like, you know what?
The
My book
navigators.
says that they shouldn't be here, that they should be like, no, no, no. Listen to me. They throw the hook, and there you have it. The shark that you were looking for. You know, it's just amazing. Sometimes they're like, hey, would you like to see this animal? Like, yes, of course. And they take me to a certain spot. It's like, here, dive 30 meters. There it's going to be. I do that, and there it is. It's the way they know the ocean. I mean, I don't even carry a GPS anymore when I'm with them.
Just take local fishermen with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's redundant, because sometimes I try to tell them like, hey, my GPS is saying this. Nah, you don't know what you're talking about. They do what they know, and everything works
Just take a
fine.
nest with you.
Yeah, they know their thing. And
Yeah.
well, we've been working with them for the last 7 years. We've trained them in monitoring techniques and vigilance. They've now turned from fishermen to watchers of the ocean. We're working with a Marine Protected Area Commission for them to be the surveillance, to do the surveillance of certain areas, especially the areas that they're fishing around. They're looking for illegal fishing or illegal activities of any sort. And most of all, they're working with us to monitor sharks. They've learned how to install acoustic tags, satellite tags, visual tags, how to do everything in under 5 minutes. They know how to handle this animal. And it's just a matter of telling them what to do properly, not to kill them, but to monitoring them. So
Right.
They're amazing. They're just amazing people.
See, it's
We've
like
learned so much from them.
it's like you always say, with knowing comes caring, right?
Yeah. And to have a secure, more steady, more reliable income by not killing them, by actually being watchers and guardians. You think of tourism sometimes as something a little lightweight, but actually it's one of the greatest ways to educate people, hands-on, be out there doing things. It might not seem like you're learning in a new way, but it's a powerful means to really understand something new. Travel,
Yes.
this education.
Yes, of course.
And from
it-
outside and really appreciate what you have in your backyard, and then maybe take that knowledge and insight and new ways of looking at life in the sea and taking it back home with them. We're just spreading the word.
Yes, and not only that of course helps with the people that are interested in the animal, that are paying an amount to go diving with them. There's a certain interest, but also transforming this activity into money. That helps to convince people that don't care anything about the sharks, like politicians, decision makers, and stuff like that. They don't care about the sharks. But when you tell them, we made studies, socioeconomical studies about the bull shark activity in Playa del Carmen, and it's bringing over $5 million a year in direct and indirect expenses. So when you explain that to a politician that might not even care a bit about the ocean, you tell them, you know what? by keeping the sharks alive, you're bringing into the community this amount of money. It's like, oh, okay, so it is important. You know, you have to speak in everyone's language here. There's some people that care about the ocean, they care about the ecosystem. But hey, if I have to speak to them with money language, this gives you the opportunity to have a level field and talk to them in their own language, you know? So that's one of the advantages that I see in this activities. Well, that's you, Dr. All, when we had the honor of having you here, when you went
I was
diving
proud
with us.
to be there. Oh my goodness. It was what a great place to help celebrate what you're doing and to share the view. It's just glad to have you here sharing it with those who are tuning in to the dive in. So
And we did have some wonderful lemonade.
that's true.
And there they are. This
Yes.
Yeah.
The Masters of the Sea, no longer in the fishing co-op. We are working with the government as you know, we are working to get this new research center. Well, it's not new; it's a government research center in Isla Mujeres that hasn't been used in some years. So we signed an agreement with them to for us to restore the station to its former glory and for it to be the station for the co-op, you know. Because yes, they will be doing touristic activity, but most of all, they're bringing a lot of information. We're working with scientists from Marine Laboratory, from Sisimar in Baja California, plenty other places, and they're just happy because when they come here, we just ask the fishermen, yes, we're looking for a female hammerhead in their juvenile years, you know, like this. I was like, yeah, I can take you. They take you there. So they know their thing.
Yeah.
So yes, we're doing this agreement with them, with the governments, because our argument here is like they're bringing so much knowledge to your institution that if they're doing a touristic part out of this, that's nothing in comparison with the information that we're getting from them.
Yeah. And it's just when we went there and looked at the research, these guys are really you know, into that whole idea of really fully restoring it. And we even talked about perhaps nominating it as a new Mission Blue Hope spot there, to even bring, you know, broader attention to what these guys are doing with the space
and share the data that they're gathering.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
And I think their families even seem like super happy about this whole initiative, that, you know, now they're primarily like their husbands, their sons are not having to go as far offshore. They have to worry about them as much, and they're coming home every night, and they're not at as much risk when they're
It's a steady
revenue stream.
Yeah.
And even some of the
Yes,
family members are getting engaged with it and seeing economic benefit.
Yes, actually, we're trying to bring in like the newer generation, the youngest of them, because, well, as you can see in the pictures, some of them are not that young, but the new generation should come in, and that's the people that we're training. I mean, I get that someone that's, you know, has a certain age, doesn't want to start training to dive and all that stuff. But hey, your kid might, and this might mean a new business model for him that will bring a lot of money. So maybe you won't, but bring in your youngsters, because I'm sure that they will be interested. And from 32 fishermen that we officially have in the co-op, we have a way wider community made from their families. Also, the wives are trying to get in. Like, hey, I know some administrative. I have some administrative skills. I would help with that. Some other like, hey, I know how to cook. I can start a little restaurant with a co-op and stuff like that. So we're making a community out of this. That's the beauty of the part of this.
Yeah. And training up the, you know, like the next generation of the women scientists as well. We met with some of the kids there that were just really stoked about continuing their education and becoming biologists and naturalists and so forth. So I think
Masters of the Sea.
Yeah.
Yes. And with all the experience they might have from this activity and the contacts they will have, if they decide to study marine biology, ecology, or anything like that, they will be pretty well connected. They would have so much experience. They will be teaching a class when they got to college.
Taking your job, right?
Yeah, that's right. I hope.
So,
What is this bands?
yeah, well,
What's
this
going
is,
on?
yeah, we'll let you start the story and tell us how you got connected up with Vans.
Well, we started this campaign called Sharks of the Hook, which, well, it's self-explanatory. And one of the persons in our advisory committee, Antonio Cue, he is a good friend with Steve Van Doren, the owner of Vans. So he showed them the campaign, said, you know what, you're off the wall, we're off the hook. I think there's something we can do here. And yes, he was super excited from the beginning. He was like, yes, I love the idea. Let's do something with sharks. And that's how this collaboration started. Actually, when you guys were here,
Yeah.
the Vans team was also here. Jason, the main designer from Vans, came here. He met the fishermen and all, and he went here. He went home with a clear idea of what we want to do here. So he came back with this two model of shoes, which are super cool, super
Yeah.
cool. We ran out of them in 2 weeks. We're ordering a second batch now. I didn't even get mine. They flew so fast that I never got one. This is one of the pairs.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to show the little movie of our experiences there visiting you and having the Vans team visit us. Let's see if it's gonna work for us. Yes. Come on.
Más vale un tiburón vivo que muerto.
Can't see anything.
Estamos activos de pesca, hoy nos estamos recreando del turismo y me parece algo maravilloso. Amazing things to ensure that if we have sharks in our future, and you're creating a legacy of shark conservation right here off the waters of Cozumel. Muchos años atrás han venido apoyos, siempre nos han ignorado y hasta que llegó esto, pues, lo mismo pensamos, pero pues, no, hasta ahorita el día de hoy es verdad.
It's so good.
I saw Wyland, the artist, the shark hero himself. He left a big wall-sized portrait as a testimony.
I don't know if I couldn't watch it on my laptop. If anyone else couldn't watch it, it's also on our YouTube channel with plenty of other videos from those guys. Some of them are really funny. But yeah, there's a video.
Yeah, so we'll post that in the notes as well if it didn't come through to people. But yeah, I think the whole idea of finding these different pathways to funding economic change, to getting really people engaged in their consumer choices. They can help support the whole cause by buying a pair of shoes, which is a much better result than buying a piece of shark off the menu.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, we have them here receiving their Vans. They were really happy, even though they turned to me and said, like, we don't use shoes, right? I'm like, yeah, but it's a nice present.
That's true. I didn't see very many shoes.
No, it's so hot around here that
we don't.
But they really liked it. And well, with this Shark of the Hook campaign, we've been bringing in a lot of other partners, a lot of sponsors. First off, we have Impressions by Secret, the hotel you stayed in, Isla Mujeres. It's one of our greatest allies. They're donating some money for everyone. For every time someone stays there, they're helping us with some events. We're hosting events in there. Vans, which are amazing. albatros. That's some touristic companies around the area that are starting to really jump in the whole shark conservation movement. We're still working with some restaurants, some other hotels and stuff like that. But if the response that we're having, if people really understanding what we're trying to do, it's just amazing. It makes this 12 years of trying to communicate this message worth it. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I've heard about that. Yes, I went diving with you guys, or yes, I've heard about the fishermen. Of course, I want to help. So it's really rewarding to know that all these years of communicating this project is really paying off with people bringing in whatever they can. And well, this is how you can work and you can help us. Start your own fundraising campaign. We have a lot of materials in our webpage, so you can create your own fundraising, even if it's not for fundraising. If you just want to do a presentation at your school or learn more about sharks, you can download all of our material so you can learn more. You can make a donation or contribute with your expertise. You know, as I always said, I wish there was an instruction manual for saving sharks. We don't have one. We do
making it up as we go, you know, but the really cool thing I think is that, you know, people love the idea of being able to come back and kind of not just see sharks, but to see that shark.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, they want to see this gorda, you know, that same one is coming back year after year, and it brings people such joy. It gives them a reason to come back, a reason to visiting
names.
Yeah, they name them, you know, so that
Ask who they are.
And especially with your tagging program, you can kind of see where they're going. So
yes.
Yeah. And if something happens to them, you know, all of a sudden they drop off the map, and then everyone wants to know what the heck happened, you know. They like
and sometimes they just rub off the tag, and it's like, oh, maybe it was killed or anything, but they come back the next year like, yeah, guess what, guys, you just spent $500 for nothing. I rubbed it off in 3 days afterwards. But it's amazing. You know, we have an identification guide because we know them by name, as you say. And every time we go diving, it's like, hey, there's Fritzia, hey, there's Rooster, hey, there's whatever. And we have reports from the dive shops and the tourists, which makes it a little bit more interactive. Like, you know, yes, I saw it last year and I noticed that she's fatter, or maybe this year she's pregnant, last year she wasn't, this time she got bigger. And they start to create a bond with the animal, and creating a bond with a shark, it's complicated.
And they're really recognizable as individuals. You know, it's like when you first see a big litter of, I don't know, Labrador retrievers, they all kind of look the same, but as they start to grow and they develop their personalities, you really can tell them apart. And I think it's the same way with these big fish. You know, you really do recognize them as individuals, whether they have a scar or they have just a, you know, certain way their fin is shaped or whatever it is.
They also have different
attitudes. Yeah. Like,
that's something that we've noticed. It's amazing. You know, we've noticed like they travel in gangs, even though we have over 40 sharks in the area, because we monitor them. We know that they're in small gangs, like groups of 5 sharks, that they get along together, but they don't get along that well with the other group. Some of them come to interact with some divers. Like there's only 6 dive shops that does the feeding operation. It's a really close diving operation. And some of these gangs interact with certain stores, with certain dive shops. Some of them don't. It's like they have their favorite feeder or they don't. We've made experiments trying to change like the chum bucket they bring. It's the only thing that makes them recognizable, you know, because they're using the iron mesh. And we've exchanged them to see like, okay, it's got to be this. This is the only thing that they can recognize. No, it's not that. Because either the smell, the attitude, something.
Body language, right?
So, yeah, they're smart animals. People think of them as the stupid killing machines. But they're smart. They know what they're doing.
They're long-lived animals. You know, they can live at least, 30, 40, 50 years, longer maybe.
Yeah.
But
one species, the
Greenland shark is hundreds of years.
Yeah.
400.
400 at least.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna dive into some questions now.
All right.
You guys ready? All right, Ella is saying, what can we, all of us, do to help in the immediate future?
Well, consumption. Stop shark consumption, learn what you're eating, because most of the time, I don't know in the US, but here in Mexico, we're eating shark and we're not aware of it.
Yeah,
It's
labeling.
widely sold because it's really cheap. It's disguised as other fish, like cod, for example. Here in Mexico, we eat cod, which is salted, and it's really expensive. It comes from Norway. But if some people, they might not know that well, they'll just give you shark, which is also salted, and eat it. Fish tacos here in Mexico, really famous. They made out of shark. Just know what you're eating. Be aware of what you're eating,
Who you're eating.
who you're eating, of course.
Exactly.
And if you know it's related to sharks, just say no. Sharks are friend, not food.
And think of sharks as wildlife, along with
Yes.
other creatures from the sea. Seafood is really wildlife.
Yes.
There are a few exceptions. Even there, you should think carefully. Salmon, there are wild salmon, but the great majority available to most consumers is farmed salmon. And take a lot of wild animals to feed to the cultivated ones. So you're taking a big bite out of the ocean when you take any of these animals and put them on your plate.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's also mentioned it's a health hazard. With
Oh, yeah.
predators, they're accumulating a lot of toxins and heavy metals and stuff like that.
Bioaccumulation is real, and
Yeah. Every time someone tells me, like, why don't you eat sharks? Well, first of all, I don't like that. And second of all, it's like eating a thermometer. There's so much mercury in those animals.
oh, no kidding.
Doesn't
you-
make sense,
Yeah, so but it's very true. And people eat, I don't know, a chicken or a turkey that's a bird that matures in less than a year. But they're taking a shark. That animal could be 30 or 40 years old, and all that accumulation over its lifetime
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
It takes a long time for them just to mature, too. You don't find sharks maturing like in a year.
No,
They're so
No.
you have to rethink.
a year-old shark is so adorable. It's like
Yeah,
only this big.
Baby sharks.
Baby shark, yeah.
Rethink what we're consuming, because it does matter. We're
Oh, yeah.
taking so much wild out of the ocean that we don't need to.
Yeah,
I mean, we
it's
don't.
true.
The ocean needs sharks and other wild animals that we put on our plates much more than we need to. We have choices. There's so many things we can dine upon that we don't really need to eat these amazing creatures from the sea.
Yes. If you make a balance, the good they bring, being alive, doesn't match whatever can bring while they're dead, either economic or status or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. Top predators should be conserved and watched as keystone species and protected as such.
Yeah, here.
All right.
Another question?
Yes, we have a few questions to get through here. Stephanie is asking, with the children, what approach do you take when teaching them about how wonderful they are while still educating them about being careful around them? Most kids like them, but are still scared of them.
Well, first of all, I show them that even though I have plenty of dives with sharks, that we've fed sharks, I have 10 fingers. So it's not that dangerous. I explain to them that, you know what, I'm looking for them. I'm after them. And it's not that easy for get one close to you. They don't like us. We don't smell that good. I'm sure I've never tasted anyone, but I'm sure we don't taste that good. And if you see a shark, what I always explain to children, it's like, the way you behave, it's the response that you're going to have from the shark. If you behave as a prey, you become a prey. It's like the same thing with a dog. If you just walk by, he might be just look at you and that's it. If you start running away and screaming and stuff, then you become a hot prey.
Yeah,
Same thing with sharks,
So it is about respect.
Admire them. So with kids, it's just admire them, stay cool. He's not interested. You don't taste that good.
Well, in my
Not on
case,
their menu. Right?
yeah, in my case, I was sent out to play with the sharks when I was about 2.5, 3 years old. She's like, go play with those sharks over there. And I did, and I never had any problem, but it's also, you don't just come up and like yank on their tail, just like you're saying, the dog, you've got to realize their potential, but
Yeah.
You put the sharks as you would have sharks do unto you.
Yeah.
You don't eat them, they won't eat you.
Yeah, that's right. That's
No,
right.
they're just man-eating sharks, right? So we're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might have to worry.
You might have to worry. All right, here's a question for Luis. What challenges have you faced by implementing the new project of teaching local fishermen to change from fishermen to tourism and conservation?
Well, it has been a challenge to change the way they think, because they don't see themselves getting all the way up there. Here we have huge companies, touristic companies, that whenever people like them try to start an enterprise, this huge companies just eat them out.
Yeah.
But what we have been working with the authorities when the marine protected area was created, we made sure that this people had an advantage, that the fishermen had an advantage or a way of protecting from this big companies. So that was the first thing that they were like, you know what, I'm going to start doing this, and then a huge company is going to come over and roll over me because I don't have the ways of merchandising or lowering my prices as those guys do because of the volume and stuff. So ensuring them that they're not alone, it's not going to be an enterprise from just them, that it's this community working with them, from divers, from dive shops, authorities, the hotels, the restaurants. Everyone is trying to make them the owners of the resource, to make them the successful business. That's what really has helped us. But what really made them hesitate was this: am I going to be able to compete with the big guys?
Yeah,
And
that's true.
bringing in big guys from our own to support them has really helped them make the change.
And have confidence. And
Yes.
it's a great model to share, because it is a growing problem around the world. Sharks are disappearing, and so are the livelihoods of those who take ocean wildlife, because when fish are on the decline, we have to change. You cannot continue to make a living just by killing wildlife. It's not a sustainable model. And the sooner we face up to that, the better. And what you are doing, showing there are alternatives, that they're win-win alternatives.
Yeah.
It's seeing others succeed is one of the most powerful ways to give people the courage to try it themselves.
Yeah.
We have to hurry. Sharks don't have much longer if we're going to have healthy populations. And the ocean really needs these intact systems that have taken so long to develop, and in such a short time to really unravel, to disrupt these ancient rhythms. It includes sharks as key, you call them keystone species, but it includes the grouper, it includes whales, it includes turtles, it includes the seagrasses, the mangroves. It's the whole interacting system, but we have disproportionately plucked out key elements, and that means the system is not functioning in a way that is not only necessary for life in the sea. The ocean shapes the planet as a whole. So what we do that's positive for the ocean really comes back as a plus for us as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It is true. We when we're protecting the sharks, it's protecting them from fishing, but it's also protecting everything else that goes into a system that is favorable to sharks. So they have to have food as well. And they have to have places to pup, and they have to have a safe migratory route. And as we're seeing with the accelerated changes in, the coral bleaching episodes and other things we're putting into the ocean, spills and chemical byproducts and so forth, it really is kind of a all hands on deck right now to help protect these systems. Yeah.
No, not on deck. Keep it in the ocean.
Yeah. All hands off deck.
Actually, I was reading this paper about the reintroduction of wolves in Yellowstone, that by
Beautiful.
reintroducing 13 wolves, the whole ecosystem got back into balance in a time lapse of like 10 years.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm trying to explain to people around here. You know what? This is just the tip of the iceberg. Yes, this year we saved 2,000 sharks, which is an amazing number, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. Once these animals are not removed from the ecosystem will bounce back. But we
Exactly.
have to keep the effort. We have to keep them alive. We have to give them everything they need to stay alive. Just as you say, keep their pupping grounds, not fishing them, ensuring their migratory paths and all that stuff. And we will see a change, return back in time in the ecosystem that we are not aware of right now. Right now, we're just doing it for the sharks, but in 10 years, the results of this are going to be seen, and that's when we can say this thing is really working, you know?
Yeah. And
The
I just love,
cascade effect.
I'd love the opportunity for sort of inter-region connectivity, you know, between
Sure.
you know, between the different states and the different regions where these sharks go. So between Cuba, between the United States and Mexico, we can really have that kind of connectivity that can just be broadly beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. We need that. We need
Okay,
that.
two more.
As I said, we don't have Mexican or American sharks. We just have sharks.
Here's the sharks, yeah. Okay, an anonymous question. I'm interested in shark diving recreationally in Cancun. Are there dive shops that Saving Our Sharks partners with that you would recommend?
Yes, the shark diving, it's not done in Cancun. It's done in Playa del Carmen. It's another town, like 40 minutes away down south from Cancun. And all of the dive shops there are certified by the authority. They have to. One of the things that we created when we regulated the activity was a protocol for them to be licensed. They need a license from the government, and there's a lot of requirements to get it. So I'm sure that everyone that's offering the activity, it's up to date in their standards. But we do have a favorite partner. We also work a lot with phantom divers in Playa del Carmen. They've helped us a lot with the research part. Last year we did an ultrasound for the bull sharks with them. It was amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's tricky.
And then there's the whale shark up at Holbox
Yeah.
and other places.
That's another activity that's in up north in Isla Mujeres and Holbox. That's not diving. That's just snorkeling and swimming with whale sharks. And that's from from September till November. And the bull shark season, it's from November till February.
Again,
Sharks all the time.
without killing them.
Without killing them, of course.
It's enjoying them as the living miracles that they are.
Yeah. And know that this activity, diving with them, will keep them alive because we've created a polygon. They're protected from the moment they get into the Mexican Caribbean all the way until they have their pups in southern Mexico. We've created a safe pathway for them, and that compensation can only be kept if more people come and dive with them. So please be sure that you coming here, it's not an impact, it's something good.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And, you know, we're working through our Explore store to, you know, help facilitate some of those excursions and help bring more people, because we always like to have things that are meaningful for people to do. So
Yeah.
they can be observing these animals, they can take pictures of them, they can give you all that data and help you, you know, also understand more about their behaviors, or maybe they see that little gang, you know, the gang of five, you know.
That's actually how we get most of the information. Citizen
Yeah.
science.
Citizen science is so important. So it's a great thing that people can do. Okay,
Yeah.
our last question in the queue is from Jenny. And oh no, there's two more questions. Jenny says, I'm wondering if you have any special programs, initiatives to monitor and protect baby or juvenile sharks in the nursery areas.
Yes, the tagging program that we started with the bull sharks was in order to know where they're having birth. You know, bull sharks, they go to special places, coastal lagoons called nursery areas. And one of the main goals of that project is to know where these areas are. Once we know where these areas are, then according to Mexican law, these places should have special protection. So that's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to locate the exact place where they're going and afterwards we will be looking for a more formal protection of those lagoons.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. The final question. This one is for you, or probably all of us. As a pioneer in the field, what do you see as the future of ocean conservation and exploration? And what advice do you have for young scientists who are interested in pursuing a career in marine biology and oceanography?
Just go for it. Go for it. The ocean needs you. Never been a better time to be a kid interested in the ocean. There's so many opportunities out there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're always saying, pick up the mirror and just ask, what are you good at? And just go for it.
What do you got?
What do you got?
Put it to work.
Makes you want to get up every day. So
Yeah.
Sharktober, exactly.
This is a great time for thinking about what each of us can do to change this trajectory of decline to recovery. And what you're doing there in your backyard, Luis, is cause for hope.
Absolutely.
So, bravo.
Thank you so much.
So we're at the
It's
top of
work.
the hour. And before we close today, we just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you, Luis, for everything you're doing. Don't stop, keep going.
Bring on the kids.
And thank you to the Ocean Elders and to everyone in the diving community that joins us each time and participates. Water connects all of us, and we're so grateful to you. With Sylvia's travels willing, we will be back at the end of the month with another guest. And until then, remember, take care of the ocean.
As if.
Your life depends on it.
Because.
Yes.
It does. It does. Thank you, everyone. We're going to come back and dive with you again, Luis.
For sure. You're more than welcome.
Show us your favorite gorda.
Yes, of course. Please come during the winter season and we'll definitely go there.
All right. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. O.
Yeah.
Sharks are worth more alive than dead.
Absolutely. Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you so much.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Hammerhead.